It's 10 o'clock on the dot. Good evening and welcome to the news brought to you by Eswatini TV. I'm Sunny Boingo and I'm with Namakabe. We are coming to you live from the Hospital Hill studios in Babane. First, your headlines tonight. His Majesty King Eswatini III has safely arrived in South Korea for the 2024 Korea-Africa Summit. His Majesty King Eswatini III, accompanied by Nkosikazi Magelangangaza, honored an invitation by the President of South Korea and graced a welcoming dinner. And the Minister for Natural Resources and Energy has clarified that the ministry does not bear responsibility for the eviction of Eswatini from farms. Good evening, the news in detail. His Majesty King Eswatini III has safely arrived in South Korea for the 2024 Korea-Africa Summit. His Majesty is accompanied by Nkosikazi Magelangangaza.
His Majesty King Eswatini III arrived in Seoul, the capital city of South Korea, accompanied by Nkosikazi Magelangangaza. Upon arrival into this country, His Majesty was received by representatives of the South Korean government and also welcomed by Eswatini ambassador to Malaysia and other countries in Asia, His Excellency Menzi Dlamini. His Majesty the King Andy Ngwenyama is in this country to take part in the Korea-Africa Summit. This is the first ever Korea-Africa Summit, and it is expected to elevate cooperation between Korea and Africa and also shape a future of sustainable co-prosperity as genuine partners, especially because Korea has development experience. His Majesty will meet with other African leaders, including the African Union Chairperson, who is the President of the Republic of Mauritania, and also the President of the Republic of South Korea. Forming part of His Majesty's delegation is His Royal Highness Prince Ngangabani, Her Royal Highness Princess Elizabeth, Chief Msundruga, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Senator Polile Shakantu. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia in South Korea.
His Majesty King Eswatini III, accompanied by Nkosikazi Magelangangaza, honored an invitation by the President of South Korea and graced a welcoming dinner. The dinner was hosted by the President to welcome heads of state who have arrived for the Korea-Africa Summit to be held in South Korea.
His Majesty King Eswatini III, accompanied by Nkosikazi Magelangangaza, attended a welcoming dinner for heads of state who have arrived for the Korea-Africa Summit in the Republic of South Korea. The dinner was hosted by the President of the Republic of South Korea, His Excellency Yoon Suk Yeol, and the First Lady Kim Kyon-hee ahead of the summit, which His Majesty the King, African leaders, and the President of South Korea will have deliberations on how to develop the African continent. The dinner was also attended by international organizations in Africa and key figures from Korean government communities. About 48 African countries expected to attend the summit. The summit will set a milestone for Korea and Africa's path for shaping a future of sustainable co-prosperity as genuine partners. Korea and Africa is expected to make a future together. The summit is coming in the wake of the 7th Korea-Africa Economic Cooperation Ministerial Conference on September 2023, an event held to cement Korea's long-standing support for developing the African continent. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia with Tabiso Dlamini in South Korea.
Coming back home, the Minister for Natural Resources and Energy, the Honorable Prince Lonkokela, has clarified that the ministry does not bear responsibility for the eviction of Eswatini from farms. Instead, he emphasized that the court orders are the determining factor in such cases. The minister made these remarks in response to questions from members of parliament regarding the ministry's stance on inhumane farm evictions.
Members of Parliament raised concerns regarding the treatment of Eswatini during farm evictions. The Minister for Natural Resources and Energy, Honorable Prince Lonkokela, has announced that the ministry has developed a farm dwellers bill aimed to addressing the rights and concerns of individuals residing on farms. Prince Lonkokela revealed that although the bill was initially tabled in the House of Assembly, it faced obstacles in the House of Senate and did not progress further.
Tindzaba lelukhuni for bantu labanengi. Nathi sonke nje la endlini isinika kulukhuni kwekuthi itawuthiwana.
Speaking on the matter, the minister emphasized the significance of the proposed legislation in safeguarding the rights of farm dwellers and ensuring their fair treatment. Despite the setback encountered in the House of Senate, Prince Lonkokela assured the members of parliament that efforts are underway to revise and refine the bill. Some members of parliament requested that the minister should establish a committee that will look into the concerns of the people evicted from the farms. Some MPs also requested that the bill shouldn't take long into being tabled in the House of Senate. As it was established, it needs only some few corrections. Eswatini TV News, Ndomlangeni, Sikhumbuzo Dlamini, Themba Shabangu, Parliament.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Thulisile Dladla, stated in Parliament that her office is actively working on developing guidelines to determine eligibility for elderly grants in the country. This initiative aims to address disparities where some individuals receive pensions of around 30,000 Malangeni, while others who are particularly vulnerable do not. Dladla emphasized the importance of ensuring that the support reaches those most in need.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Thulisile Dladla, has addressed inquiries regarding the distribution of elderly grants, particularly concerning individuals who receive both pension and the grant. Members of Parliament raised concerns about the criteria for eligibility and the need for clarification on this matter.
Sesicalile siyabuka njengaloku nale protocol sivumbulutile sazama ukuthi sibuke lamanye mave kuthi enda njani.
Senator Dladla assured members of parliament that her office is actively engaged in formulating guidelines to streamline the process of determining who qualifies for the elderly grant. Emphasizing the collaborative approach, she stated that the government will not impose these guidelines but will instead work closely with all relevant stakeholders.
Kufanele ukuthi khule le mali abantu abadala laba vulnerable.
Members of parliament also raised questions regarding the tabling of these guidelines.
This issue has already been hijacked by untoward elements labati the country doesn't care about you nbantu labadala. Bengafuna kuva ku Excellency Deputy Prime Minister kwekuthi consider paying the elderly differently going forward. Kubukeka ukuthi law ukule category le uyathola law ukule category le akabuyina setiko.
The Deputy Prime Minister assured MPs that the guidelines will be concluded before the end of next year. The Deputy Prime Minister also highlighted that the government is also looking into finding other solutions towards accommodating Eswatini that are extremely vulnerable. Eswatini TV News, Ndomlangeni, Sikhumbuzo Dlamini, Themba Shabangu, Parliament.
Now, coming in from the High Court, there's a case in where in-laws disagree on whether an adopted child under Eswatini laws and customs should inherit from the deceased adoptive parents' estate, and whether the siblings of a deceased wife should inherit if the wife was married under Eswatini laws and customs. Now, this case is that of a Lamini family, which is before the commission investigating allegations of mismanagement of estates at the master's office. Eswatini TV's Fortune Langamandla has more on that story.
This is the second time this estate has come before the Judicial Commission of Inquiry. This is the estate of the deceased Jabulile Dlamini, who passed away after the death of her husband Jimmy. Jimmy had two wives, whom he married according to Eswatini law and custom. Jimmy and Jabulile did not have any children, which led to them traditionally adopt Zandile Dlamini as their child. Zandile is a daughter of Jabulile's sister. Brothers of the deceased Jimmy, Themba and Christopher, previously appeared before the commission, complaining that Zandile refuses to leave the deceased Jabulile's house at Thembelihle. The relatives also complained that since the deceased couple had no children and were married under Eswatini law, their property should be inherited by Jimmy's family. Zandile explains how she was adopted.
Nase ngihlala ke kibo bangifundisa bakentela konke vele ngaba ngumfanabo. Bebangibita my daughter vele ngumfanabo.
She says her father Jimmy requested her from her family so she could be their adopted child. She says her family granted Jimmy's wish, said that Jimmy did everything for her. On the other hand, Zandile's mother explains the reasoning behind Zandile's inclusion in the deceased estate.
So uthi ke kwaba ngilo ukuthi nje bese sowenda ke le process yonke ize yaphelela kwamshiya lapha.
She says Jimmy only made a mistake by not following the entire process of adopting a child. The Assistant Attorney General Mbuso Simelane, the lawyer representing deceased Jabulile's children, Nkosingivile Dlamini, and Deputy Master at the Master's Office, Lindelwa Makakula, present their views.
Tindzaba yokuthi wafakwe eswini mhlambe it can be best determined ngalesi Swati.
Simelane says the issue of a traditional adopted child can be best dealt with by traditional structures.
The criteria kufuna ibe straightforward.
Meanwhile, lawyer Nkosingivile says the Dlamini family only challenged when they learned that Zandile was going to benefit from the estate.
Lakashona lo baba engalo 2010 ukhona amali and la kwenziwa la liquidation and distribution accounts acknowledge imali ukuthi lo mntwana wakhe.
Deputy Master Makakula says when Jimmy died in 2010, Zandile was not made a beneficiary, whereas if she was an adopted child, she was supposed to benefit. The chairperson of the commission investigating allegations of mismanagement of estates at the Master's Office, Judge Majahenga Dlamini, also present his opinion. The judge says the Master's Office was going to have difficulties justifying which law was used to adopt Zandile. He says in this case the Master's Office will have been expected to determine whether to use common law or Eswatini law and custom. Mbabana Assistant Master Thobeka Dlamini says there are over 850,000 Malangeni that is unaccounted for in the estate of Jimmy. She says this amount was obtained after the sale of another property at Thembelihle. Another unaccounted for cash is from the sale of the deceased motor vehicle. The executor is Themba Dlamini. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Langamandla, Mbabane.
Now, with the aim of eradicating the cervical cancer disease by the year 2030, the Ministry of Health is capacitating health care workers with expertise to screen for cervical cancer on female patients on the country's clinics and hospitals. Now, the 5-day training program is being held at the George Hotel in Manzini.
The training workshop is attended by over 30 health workers from clinics and hospitals in the Shiselweni and Hoho regions. Dr. Telulego Masego, who is one of the facilitators, explains.
We are training these nurses so that they can be skillful in providing screening at facility levels. We have seen as a country that the numbers are not really, women are not really getting screened in the two regions, so the training will enhance the screening part in terms of nurses providing the service at facility level.
Eswatini TV took to the streets to find out from some female members of the public if they do test for the disease and if they think the training of health workers would help.
Ngangisukunyise phasi ukuthi makoti wami abeshonile ngaleso sikhathi ashoniswe i-breast cancer. Ngase ngethuka-ke ukuthi nama sengiyoti check-a mhlawumbe nginayo.
Abanye abangani bami baya yabo nalokuthi ngibone labanye sebagula kwangithusa lokuthi kufanele ngiye nami ngiyo-check-a but kwangithatha isikhathi vele.
Ngicabanga ukuthi kungasida ngoba already vele kanyanyalo kuyasida lokuthi khona lokwendekako shothi nabe ngaba onke lamakliniki vele kungabantu bangasidakala kakhulu shem.
Kuyasida kakhulu lokuthi uhlole babone sekucalile kusengakacali bakutshele nendlela yokuthi ungakuvikela kanjani ukuthi kungaze nje kukuthole lokufa.
The World Health Organization report on Eswatini cervical cancer interventions points to the fact that the country has successfully vaccinated over 90% of girls against the human papilloma virus and implemented world standard screening programs. Reporting Mbongwa Dube Manzini.
The European Union has supported the Federation of Eswatini Business Community FESPIC with about 400 million to train graduates on technical vocational skills. Now, the head of business transformation, Mavela Skwane, was detailing what they are doing to create employment opportunities as the federation, and he had this to say.
The Ministry of Economic Planning has reported that about 70% of graduates do not have employment opportunities, and the Labour Force Survey of 2021 states that about 58.2% of the country's youth is unemployed. The head of transformation at the Federation of Eswatini Business Community says they have seen it fit to contribute to creating employment for the graduates in an EU-funded project which will start next month.
Lesibendile ke singifirst ne-TVET college, nama-TVET colleges kunababendlu of principal wegwamile team, ne-Ministry of Education, nathi ngala ne-Ministry of Commerce, including Ministry of Labour, because lama scholarships la funda labantwana aqhamuka from Ministry of Labour lekuba ngumnyango wokwenda lama scholarships. Let's look into this issue. Sakhanza ukuthi vele inkinga lenkulu ukuthi kukhethwa employee minded people. That is no first because ngenelele abuyise bonke labantwana leseba training webanikwe le mindset bayoba laba sebenza siba converted to being employers. Job seekers they convert even job creator. So unfortunately this funder it's there vele it's 400 million. We are looking at basically getting to a target 100%. Recall labala sebanema qualifications labanika ukuthi bofuna umsebenzi. Siba convert fully babe ma job creators because the strategic positions as Swaziland the city ututene hapa une rail facility le pillar so we can run the logistics using that.
FESPIC's head of transformation continues to say that the program will run for 7 years with the possibility of continuing if the EU is happy with the results. Nelson Ngamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Mbabane.
From job creation to the world of business, because we'll need some money, we will take a look at financial indicators that will give us a sense of how markets fared today in a financial report.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Welcome back on our sports news. The Ministry of Education has encouraged players under the Instacash Soccer Knockout tournament to use the opportunity and showcase their talent to the entire world. Now, the ministry mentioned this during the tournament's last 16 draw at Instacash offices in Mbabane.
For a second year running, Instacash company continue to show their full support in sponsoring schools football competitions.
Sibonga kakhulu ke Instacash ukuthi selitiko niyasibambisa.
Kandi Ngambure from the Ministry of Education under the Department of Sports and Culture applauded the two parties for their hard work by emphasizing that school competitions play a key role in developing talents of students.
Sibonile naseminyakeni lophelile sike sahlangana kasinathi senda umsebenzi locishe lofana njengalo umane uchubeke.
Sponsorship sethu eminyakeni lophelile besingu 350,000 kulomnyaka sisi 375.
Managing Director of Instacash, Mandla Chitsumaro, says that they will keep on extending their support to the community by ensuring that they play a role in developing sports in different communities.
Sisi bayidlala i-netball bayidlala kodwa kutawe ngekuthi sisakhula sikhula sitfolani la sithi sizama kutshala khona.
Sibone i-talent lizinga lekudlala kwabantwana linyuka kakhulu nale hype yale competition yenyuka.
The Eswatini School Sports Association president says at the start of the game at school level has hugely improved since the involvement of their title sponsor. The last 16 draws then conducted with all the teams also receiving jerseys to use in the remaining games of the competition. The games begin this Wednesday at Manzini Club in Manzini. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabisum Sondera, Mbabane.
Well, with those sports news, we hit the home stretch of the news at 10 at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We shall now cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the team at Eswatini TV. For now, it's a good night and God bless.